Welcome to the Simply His Coffee Shop. We're back and we're in the new studio, well, rearranged studio, I should say, with Mom and Sharice, and we're just going to have a really fun time today. Last week we mentioned our social media on Facebook and how we had posted some fun facts about each one of us, and you guys had to guess which one
correlated
belonged
with us,
to who. We thought we'd do a fun show about that and just talk about it and share stories of what that was referring to and stuff. So what was the first one?
So the first one, it was, here are 3 fun facts about Catherine, Nita, and Sharice. Guess which one belongs to who. The first one was, has visited 40 states and 10 countries. The second one was, I'm a drummer. My older brother taught me when I was 12. And the third one was, I've been on TV since the age of 2, appearing in commercials. And I kind of feel like, you remember that old TV show, Will the Real whatever, please stand up? Start standing up.
Start standing up on the which one?
Yeah, exactly. So which one of us has visited 40 states and 10 countries?
That would be me.
Tell us about that.
So working in missions and stuff, we traveled to a lot of different countries. So I've lived in 4 countries, including this one. I was actually born on the mission field. So I was born in another country, and then we came back to the States, and then we went back, because basically with missions, what you do, you go to the other country for about 4 years, depends on the term, but most of them are usually 2 to 4 years, and we always did 4. And then you come back to the States for about a year to 18 months when you go to the different churches to itinerate. And that's part of how I've been to 40 different states, is because we went and preached at different churches. So I've been all over the West Coast, and I've been a lot of the East Coast and then some of the middles. So that's why it's been 40 states. And then when I was in Master's Commission, Dan Betzer's church down at First Assembly in Fort Myers, Florida, I attended their Master's Commission. That's cool. And when I was there, I got to visit even more kind of up in the middle. So like Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa.
It's probably easier to ask you what state you've not been to.
To a degree. I have not been to the Dakotas. And I have not been to Alaska.
I've been to both of them.
And then a couple of the real top east, like upper East Coast. Yeah. Like I've been to Delaware and Pennsylvania and New Jersey and New York and places like that. But there's a couple of the other little ones that I haven't been to. So, yeah.
You mentioned Master's Commission.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a tiny bit on that?
Yeah. So that's actually like a college internship. If you're wanting to go into ministries, you can take some of the classes. And I think actually Dad had taken it. It's the online to become like a licensed minister.
Berean.
Berean. So you take your Berean and then you help out in the church, you do different outreaches. So it's kind of an in-depth discipleship training type thing. And so I did that. Another fun fact, I wanted to come back to the States. And I was living in Vanuatu at the time, and I was like, okay, I want to get out on my own. Let's do this. And so that was one of the things that my parents had agreed, that if you go do Master's Commission, then we'll let you go back to the States. Yeah. So that was my introduction to coming back. So I moved back when I was almost 19. It was a few months before I turned 19 was when I moved back to the United States for good.
So for those folks out there that understand that you were born in a different country, they're probably thinking, well, is she a U.S. citizen?
That's a great question, actually. Yes. So usually if you're a missionary or you're in the military, you take your birth certificate that the hospital gives you to say, yes, this was a live birth. This was when the baby was born, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to take that to an actual embassy to get it all filed, to get you a passport, because even at that age, you still have to have a passport and everything.
As an infant?
Yeah. Yep. It's pretty interesting. News. But what was funny, too, is when I was born in the Solomon Islands, we did not have an actual embassy in the Solomon Islands. Wow. They had like a small little tiny office type thing, but everything actually had to go through Papua New Guinea because the actual embassy was in Papua New Guinea. So
do you have dual citizenship?
I could, but I don't. If I really wanted to, I could probably work something out. Plus, I have a lot of friends that grew up now are actually some of the officials and stuff
wild.
In the islands. So
that's very cool.
It's kind of funny.
Okay, so between the two of us, which one of us is a drummer and the older brother taught how to play drums when they were 12.
That would be me.
There's my shocked face.
And I would like to say thank you to my older brother, John, if he's ever listening. And if he's not, I'm hoping somebody in his family is. But anyway, John, my older brother, we lived out in the middle of nowhere. We had nothing to do. We didn't have TV. We had a stereo and a bunch of records. He had a drum set because my mom and my dad and he, all three had a band, and they would go different places and play music. And so one summer, I got really bored, and I started kind of messing with his drums. So he kind of showed me a few tricks, and he explained to me the importance of keeping rhythm, because he says you can do all these hot licks, but if nobody can follow your rhythm, you're
Right.
not really...
In the band.
Yeah. You're someone that they
just
wish would
making
leave.
noise.
Because you're a great noisemaker,
Right.
right? So I kind of studied that and took that to heart. And so I started drumming, and it came really easy for me. It was easy for me to play drums than any other musical instrument because I didn't have to read notes.
Yeah.
Reading notes was very confusing to me. It was like another language.
that.
It took a lot of discipline to try to figure it out, where you
Right.
put your finger when the little tiny thing looks like the other little black note. Some people can read it fluently. I could not.
Right.
Yeah.
So drumming was so much fun because I could still make noise and make rhythm. And
Yeah.
he taught me tricks on how to make different sounds if you turn your sticks different ways.
Yeah.
He was an amazing mentor. So yeah, my brother taught me, and I was 12 years old when we started, and I have just played drums throughout my life. I play drums exclusively for my son. I do not drum for other people, although I have been asked.
Yeah.
I'm his personal drummer whenever he needs, or I'm there.
Right.
That's my favorite. I might play drums in church though.
Yeah.
I've done that a lot.
You've done that
you've
before.
Done that.
Yeah. So that's my story on drums.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, I will tell you one more little cute little caveat. My first set of drums was a coffee can. Yeah,
Really?
and 2 spoons. All my siblings had the same set. It was a coffee can with 2 spoons. And my mom would sing this silly little song, and us kids would play drums all together.
Aw.
It was hilarious. So that's
sounds
it.
cute. So the last one, obviously. So been working in commercials since I was 2. That's me. And I have the Social Security statement to prove it. It was funny because my husband and I said, I've been working longer than you. I get to retire first. Like that happened. But yeah.
Well, you tried.
I did try. I
And
did
then we
try.
stole you.
And then you brought me right out of retirement, which is fine because I'd been bored. I was born in St. Louis. And so my biological father worked for a company called Communico. He was a producer and director of motion pictures.
Oh.
He was a stunt driver. So at Communico, they needed individuals for different commercials. So there was a Zenith commercial that
my.
I still have the picture of me and my TV mom
Cute.
from the Zenith
Aw,
commercial.
how
And yes, I've got it in my closet. And then there was a game called Belly Ball. And back in the 70s, because I'm barely 30, there was this metal piece, kind of oblong, and it had a little clip that you clipped it onto your pants. And the ball dangled from the game or whatever, and it had 3 holes, and you were supposed to it's kind of like the hula hoop, but doing it with the ball to get it in the hole. Yeah, it went real far. Obviously.
Obviously, that's why we all know about
if you
it.
see one on eBay, send it to P.O. No, I'm just kidding.
So Charisse was discovered on Belly Ball. Great news. Great
Good times.
Oh.
And then there's a fast food chain, and we don't have it down here, but other places do, Jack in the Box.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was in Jack in the Box, and I was a rowdy kid at the service counter, and they have like bar stools or whatever, and
Yeah.
and my job was
Sure.
to be rowdy, and I want my food, and
Okay.
so I did that, and then
Did you
Dad's
get in
root beer.
trouble doing it?
I did not.
They liked it?
I was supposed to do that.
You were,
I was
you were in-
supposed
I
to
got
be the
you. That's
rowdy
part of-
kid
that's-
wanting their food.
Oh, I love that.
Yes.
You see, it was so real to me. I was
I'm a
buying
method
into it.
actor.
It must have been good because I was buying into the story. I was believing it.
Yes. You're
Okay,
welcome.
it's just a commercial you were doing. Gotcha.
Yep. And Dad's root beer. And I drank so much Dad's root beer, I got
yeah.
violently sick.
Oh.
Threw up a lot. Just because we had to drink a lot of it.
That's
and
a lot of sugar.
It is a lot of sugar, and both of my parents are gone now, except I still have my daddy who raised me. But my father had taken me to a post-production party for one of the commercials or whatever, and a waitress spilled a pot of coffee on my head at this post-production.
No.
So that explains a whole lot about me, I guess. But I'm fine. So the next one that was on our social media is learned to drive a stick shift when she was 15, enjoys crafting like using her Cricut, scrapbooking, and crocheting. And the third one was has bungee jumped 3 times and has ridden in a hot air balloon. So who learned to drive a stick shift when she was 15? Now, wait a minute. If you can drive a stick, raise your hand. Okay. So it could be any of us.
It could be any of us. So who was it?
It was me. Yes, and I have a really funny story to tell. While I was learning, it was my stepdad that was teaching me. And we had pulled into this driveway, and it was a long, narrow driveway. So I had to continue going forward because I couldn't go backwards out onto the road because it was a little bit too busy and it was dark and I couldn't see. So I had to pull all the way down into these people's yard, into their front driveway there by their house. And then I realized I didn't have enough room to go all the way around, so I had to back up. Well, when I did, I went a little bit too far and I landed in the lady's flower garden. Right underneath her little kitchen window because they were all sitting there looking out the window wondering who's in their front yard, right?
Wow.
Oh, no.
And it scared me because I was in her yard, in her flower bed. I shifted up into first and I hit the gas, and when I did, I spun out. And so not only did I land backwards in her flower garden, when I spun out, I threw it all up into their window, all over the front of their house. And they're all just looking at me. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just got to get home.
Right.
So when I finally did get that thing going, I learned how to get home fast. So not only did I learn how to drive a stick, I learned how to get there quick.
Oh, my
So-
goodness.
That's hilarious.
Thankfully, did not follow me, but yeah, I will never forget
Did you
that
ever
day.
go back and like fix it? You just,
No, that was my former life.
well, I
And I
was
just
curious
didn't know it.
because I didn't know if Clarence would have made you go back or not.
No, he was the one screaming, go, go, go.
I could see that too. I didn't know which way it'd go, but
No,
That's hilarious.
no, that was not nice. I didn't go back, and I apologize to whoever they are. But that was my former life. I was 15.
yeah.
It was a
funny.
ding-dong thing to do, but I
Right.
did it. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was one of my first lessons.
That's fun.
Of learning to drive a stick shift.
I'm glad I know how to drive one now, though.
Oh, for
Oh,
sure.
I know.
Many times I've needed to
Yep.
know, and I'm just right
Yep,
there.
yep,
I can figure it
exactly.
out. So, yeah.
It's kind of
Yep.
fun. We were
Yeah.
talking before
Yes.
this how, of course, when I had kids, I didn't like driving a stick shift because you can't really do a whole lot in the back seat. But, if you've got a nice, fast sports car, it's kind of fun. It's kind
Yeah.
of fun.
I
Okay.
could see that.
So between you and me, enjoys crafting, like using her Cricut, scrapbooking, and crocheting.
Yeah. I did not
me?
make that for her. If you're listening, she has on a crocheted,
Yeah. a little-
almost
A
quilt looking
sweater.
sweater
With
thing
the
on her
arms.
sleeves.
Yeah, it's really cute.
It's very cute.
It's fun.
But it's like one of those granny square things.
It's so
Things
those
TikTok
that-
made me buy. You're
Right?
welcome.
That's very
But
cute.
anyways, that would be me.
Shock face.
I know. I love to craft when I can.
Right?
Doesn't always happen as much as I'd like to.
No.
But she's good at it when
She's
she does have
very
time.
good at it. She's very good at it. She's made me a couple cups and
So yeah, so I have a Cricut and
the first Simply His shirts you made.
yeah, the
Yep.
first Simply His shirts, because when we were talking about it and everything and we had finally come up with the logo, I got the logo in for Christmas because we had decided that we were going to launch this right before Christmas happened.
Right.
So in all of us four girls' colors, so Donna, Allie, Mom, and myself, we all have our colors that we love.
Right.
And so I made us all T-shirts for Christmas that year. And actually,
You did make
plug.
those.
so we got these little coasters, and I actually made those for our set with my Cricut stuff. But anyways, so it's fun, and I love to scrapbook, and I love crocheting, but I haven't been able
haven't
to
done
do
that in
that
a
for a while.
Yeah.
The
But it's
kids
still
like
that all
want to throw
creative
the
stuff.
yarn all over the house, so
gravy. Yeah.
maybe once they're a little bit older,
Yes.
and I can leave things out.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, you don't want to leave like those needles out with Tommy.
No, because they turn into swords and
weaponry.
spears, and everything else.
Can you imagine?
Because I
don't
have some
have
of
to
those.
imagine. I've
Oh
witnessed
yeah,
it.
she's seen him do this almost. Because I think
I
he
got the
actually
skin
had
on
one
that.
of my knitting needles. I don't really knit that often, but I do every once in a while,
Yeah.
especially if it's just a simple scarf. But I'm not as good at knitting for some reason. But he had one of my jumbo knitting needles,
Yeah.
and Joe's like, "Does this really have to be out?" I'm like, "No, he's been told not to play with that multiple times, but you know."
Good luck with that.
It's because it's a no-no. They have to mess with things they're
It's
not
like,
supposed
don't
to
touch
have.
that. I mean, like,
Yeah, right?
Don't touch that.
Exactly.
So, anyways, but yeah,
Well,
I
that-
love crafting.
Okay, so in my craft room, I have this huge ball. Remember, like a couple years ago, the chunky throw
Yeah.
was the thing. Yeah, I've got the whole ball of yarn still in there. So I'm just going to bring it to Catherine's house.
There you go.
And then, maybe if you get me a secret sister or something, you can just make it for me.
There you
It's
go.
fine.
There you go.
So
That
I
works.
craft a lot like you do, Cherise.
I have the
that-
room.
Yeah.
And I think the thought, and I go buy
Yes.
it, and then it sits there.
that's the one.
And I don't do nothing with it.
I'm just, we're twinsies.
Seriously, I made
We'll have
Toby
a
convert a
crafting
whole
class.
closet for that. Yeah, this is what Charisse doesn't do. She has all the stuff to do it.
Hasn't done it.
Hasn't done it.
So you've bungee jumped then?
I've bungee jumped 3 times.
That's one thing I haven't done yet.
Yeah. So in the 90s, me and one of my best friends, Andrea, I had in high school opened a restaurant with Steve and Linda Wood called the Outback Steak and Oyster Bar in Branson. And it's not the Outback you think of, it's the chain, okay?
Right.
They had gone to Australia on a family vacation and it inspired them.
Okay.
They bought all the things that you see in that restaurant and had them shipped back. So I'd opened the store with them when I was in high school and I was hostessing and waiting tables, right? Well, a couple of years down the road, they put up an Outback bungee jump right there on 76, right in front of where they had the restaurant. So Andrea and I went and did it a couple of times. I still can't believe I did it now.
I kind of can't believe you did it either.
But the dead man fall was probably the worst one because you just
Have to fall back.
just close your eyes and lay back into nothing. I remember trying to grab onto, because you're just, like a cat
Sure.
Wow.
trying to grab onto the thing. But did that, checked that off the bucket list.
Next, jumping out of airplane.
Negative Ghost Rider. My father did that, and
brother.
there was a picture of him holding on to the side rails or whatever in his jumpsuit and a helmet. And so I'm like, no, I am not a fan of airlines, flying
That's
planes.
true.
We all know that.
That's true. Yeah.
That's about it.
Not
either.
a fan.
Not
But
my
then,
favorite.
No. Then the hot air balloon, of course, I grew up in Branson, and my dad is a musician, and the theater at the time, and of course this is in the early 80s part of Branson, right? Not the
Right.
Branson of today. So these people had propositioned the owner of the theater that they could run during the day when there's no shows going on. That's before they had morning shows and matinee shows. It was just an evening show everywhere, right?
Right.
So they'd propositioned him about, can we set up, air balloon rides and we'll tether it and they can just go up in the air balloon and come down.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
a little touristy thing, right?
Sure.
That was the most terrifying experience. Literally, I can remember to this day, my legs were jello. I shook so hard.
Yeah.
Really?
I shook so hard. And so I wonder if that's part of my phobia about being, out of control.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm slightly a control freak.
A little
Just
bit.
a little
Un
bit.
petite. I took the Bruce Beelan School of Management. Certified. I tell them all the time, I'm certified in your course, sir. But yeah, I can remember the whoosh of the flames above my head, which was probably
no.
another scary,
I'm sure.
kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, that's one thing I don't think I would ever do either.
They're beautiful to
Yeah,
look at.
to look at on the ground.
Yeah, but thank you. Yeah, but there's gas. And there's,
Yeah,
you're
there's
up in the
also
air.
gravity.
Thank you.
And there's
not a safety
wind.
net. Okay, so our last one so far that we've got posted, because we've got more that's coming, so be watching the social media to learn
And see
some more
if you
stuff.
can guess who it is.
Yep. So this one is, I love to skeet shoot. I cannot bake cakes, but I do pretty good at pies. Go figure. And then the last one is, I am bilingual.
So what are we doing first?
I love to skeet shoot.
Oh, this is my shocked face.
I know. That was me. Yeah, Toby and I, for a time, we had a bird farm, upland game bird farm, pheasant, checker, quail, hunting dogs. And man, that was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun because we had skeet, like an automatic thrower.
Right.
And we had different spots that, the ladies could line up on these spots and men can line up at this spot. And I'm like, I ain't going to the cheater tee. So I would come back to the man spot. And I've beaten Toby a couple of times, but at church shoots, he wins everything. He's still got a trophy when he was in Highview, I think, assembly. And this is something we could not have talked about probably on network TV, but I loved shooting skeet. It was very relaxing for me. Just like now, going to the range. If I go to the range, it's very relaxing to me, which, we joke at the warehouse. Can Joe just put me a range out back
Right.
so that I can come out of my office and go chill for a minute?
So that's where
go
that
through a
comes
magazine.
from.
It'd be fun. Yeah, exactly.
I can carry a pretty mean water gun. Really good with a
Super
squirt
soaker.
gun. Yeah. You better
She's a
watch
good
out if I'm
super
around.
Or the hose whilst washing the horses down.
Oh, right.
Done that a few times.
Yep.
So,
So the second one.
so who can't bake the cakes but does really good at pies?
It would be me. I don't know why. I cannot bake a cake. The best cake I ever baked made a wonderful paperweight.
you make pineapple upside down cake,
Okay,
though.
that's a little bit different. I've had a little bit of practice there. That's for whatever
She's
reason.
pawned
that's
that
okay.
one off on the grandkids.
I know,
Yeah, I actually
Neely.
have taught the grand ones, so I don't have to ever think it no more. Now, pies, on the other hand, I don't know why, because pie crust is not an easy thing for some people.
Right, right.
But it was a very easy for me to figure out, and I was pretty good at making pie.
That's cool.
And so that's always been my thing that I would always do at holidays.
Yep.
And I've
Yep.
already pawned all that off too.
Yep.
So I don't have to bake
Yep.
pie or cake anymore. So, but if I have to, pie is a better option for me.
Okay.
And I like to bake pie, but I like to see the grand ones have
I know.
fun to do things
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. If you've ever listened, like Nita Lee talked about at Thanksgiving time, that's her job.
They're good at it
Yeah.
too. They're good at it. These
That's
little
their
ones
favorite
coming
thing
up
to
are
do.
great cooks, and that's good for me.
Yeah, right? Dote on you.
Then you don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
That makes it fun.
It is fun. So how many languages can you speak?
It's kind of a weird deal because the Solomon Islands has Pigeon English. And so in the blackbirding days when Australians would come over and steal islanders to take them back to Australia, kind of like what the African
I
Americans
got
went
you.
through, it's the same kind of a thing.
I got you.
So they'd take them back to Australia to have them work in the sugarcane fields and things like that, and then bring them back sometimes. So they came up with a language called Pigeon English because in the Solomon Islands alone, there's like over 87 dialects.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So there was even people from different islands or different parts
Right.
of the
like a
island.
neighborhood thing.
Yes, they weren't all speaking the same language. So that's where Pigeon English came in.
Wow.
So I grew up speaking that. I did kind of forget it to speak it for a while because we had left the Solomon Islands when I was 6, and then we came back to the States and then went to Ponape, and they just have their own language, and then everybody spoke English. So I didn't really have to learn another language while we were there. So during that period, I could still understand it because my parents still spoke it all the time,
Right.
like at the house and
Right.
stuff. And so I understood it. But then when we went back to the Solomons when I was 11, I picked it up
back up.
immediately.
Yeah.
And then I just always spoke that. But then when we went to Vanuatu, they have a form of Pigeon English as well, but they call it Bislama. And the dialect is a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I guess technically you could say I speak 3 if I
Okay.
wanted to cut hairs.
Right, right. So have you taught your kids any of it?
No, I haven't.
Do you speak it anymore?
I still do with my parents and my siblings, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. But yeah,
Okay.
we
So
still...
give the audience a little taste of your stuff.
Mi happy tumas fo save totoglo yufala.
That's amazing. What did you just say?
Yeah, exactly.
I said it's very nice to be able to talk with you guys.
I
Oh,
love
that's
it.
cool. That's very cool.
I love that language.
That's very cool.
I've heard her talk it with her parents, and I absolutely love it. I can't speak a word of it, but
Yeah,
I like
when
the way
we
it sounds.
when we shot the shows
It's too
with
much
them,
fun.
Yeah, when
did
they
some.
came and visited,
Yeah.
we did that show
Yeah,
with them,
that
and
was
they
really
talked,
cool.
spoke it a little bit. So yeah, ironically, one of the girls that I kind of grew up with, because with missionary kids,
Right.
you might not be on the same island, but it's back in the pen pal days,
Right.
basically.
Oh,
So
exactly.
you'd have to mail letters back and forth and stuff. And then when we would get together for our area director conferences and stuff like that, we would see each other. But now one of those girls, she's actually a missionary to Vanuatu.
Wow.
So then when she comes back, her and I speak it together and
that's
stuff
really
too.
cool.
So it's really fun.
That is fun. Well, how fun. So have to keep watching our
I
social
speak
media.
Pig Latin.
I'm
really good at it.
I try to do Peppa Pig's voice occasionally. Does that count?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Google that question.
Give us a sample of Peppa Pig.
I
right?
can only do it with when my grandbaby. 'Cause she wants to. She goes through this super southern redneck slang voice
Uh-huh.
to this uppity British voice, and she's so good. It's like, girl.
I tried learning Spanish once, and I couldn't pronounce the R's.
Yeah.
I could not roll the R's. I still cannot because I had a speech impediment. But I love the language itself.
Uh-huh.
And the other reason is because every time I tried to speak it back, it came out with this real southern
Right.
twang.
Yeah. It's
And
weird.
everyone that was listening, they'd chuckle. You don't want to speak something that makes people laugh.
Exactly.
So I like the sound of it. I can interpret some of it, but speaking it, it's very awkward for me.
That makes
But
sense.
Yeah, love those languages.
Yeah, I was drawn in high school because we could take Spanish or French because my junior high was 7th, 8th, 9th, and then the 9th grade, if you took a language class, you had to be bussed over to the high school. So I'm like, I'm all about going to that high school. So I signed up for French class, and there's so many fashion houses in France, and
Yeah.
so I thought, I'm gonna speak fluent.
I was trying to learn French because actually in
very
Vanuatu,
tough.
it's really funny because part of the country was ran by the British / Australians,
Yeah.
and then the other half was ran by the French.
Wow.
So you have your French-speaking Vanuatuans, and then you have have your English speaking. It's kind of interesting. So because of that, I was like, well, I probably should learn French, but it never happened.
So did you learn French?
No.
You cannot speak it?
Très bien. Very fine. There's
That's
few
what
words that I can pick up, but nothing. Can't speak a word of it.
So I would say uno, dos, adios.
Exactly.
There's my 3 words.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Too much fun.
So we'll just have to keep doing like random facts and stuff and putting them out on social media, and 'cause this is kind of fun.
It
And
was
hopefully
fun.
they learn something about us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get back to some of our more in-depth
Yeah.
things. We just thought as a few trial getting used to this new format,
Right.
we would do some fun ones. Plus, the ones that we've gotten the most comments were when Joe and Donna and all of us were
Right.
talking and doing the laughter one.
Yeah.
And so people had so much fun with those. So we thought with getting used to this new platform
Right.
and this
Yeah.
new
This format.
format, we'd do a couple of fun ones for right now. But we will get back to doing like on Joshua, talking about the Bible and a
There's
verse.
so
and
much to talk about.
there's so many things, and you never run out of stuff to
No,
talk
I'm
about.
looking
So
forward to it.
Yeah.
I am too. This is going to be very excited. I think we're all a little bit stoked about this new way we're going to be doing it and the way that we can dive in and just have conversations and just pick a verse and talk about it, because you never see the same verse the same way. You know, you can read it one day and it has one
Yep.
meaning. The
Oh,
next
for sure.
day it has a
Yeah, it's
completely
Because it's the living
The
word
living
and it
word.
just lives.
That's very
Absolutely.
true.
So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week in the Simply As Coffee Shop.